Hello and welcome to the Patrick Chapman Show. I'm Patrick Chapman, and here we go. So, today I want to talk about baseball, and the reason I want to talk about baseball a little bit is that one of my students is going to be going to New York City for his first trip to America. And while he's there, he's going to be going to a baseball game at Yankee Stadium, the Yankees against the Toronto Blue Jays. And my first thought when I heard this last week was that I didn't think the Blue Jays existed anymore. And then I remembered, no, it's not the Blue Jays, it's the Expos, I think, who uh, moved to Florida and became the Tampa Bay Lightning or something with a girl goalie. Um, and then my second thought was that if you're going to Yankee Stadium to watch a game, that's going to be really expensive. And he said he knows, but like I've said before, there's knowing and then there's knowing. And I think he's going to come back with his jaw on the floor and missing an arm and a leg. So between the tickets and trying to buy a hot dog or a beer, it's gonna be a little costly probably. So that might be a shock. Now, as a teacher, I have this list of questions that I always start my lessons with. When I have a new student, I go through my questions. I got like two lists of about 100 each. And the other teachers make fun of me, like, "Oh, you gonna ask your questions again?" And yes, it's a good thing, and I always do it, and it works. And I know within 1 minute how well somebody speaks English, and I got all the grammar inside all the questions, plus some vocabulary. And so down near the end of one of the lists is the question, what's your favorite baseball movie? And there are lots of baseball movies, but in Poland, mostly I'm teaching Polish people. And they look at me like they don't understand the question. And most Americans would have an answer, or even if they just said, I can't think of one, or I don't know. But they kind of understand the question, but the Polish people don't really understand the question even. And that's what I expect. And then I explain it a little bit, or we just go on to talk about other movies, etc. And so I was surprised one time when I was teaching in Wrocław. I had this one student, one-on-one lesson, and so I'm going through my questions, and we're talking, and usually you ask a question and you just go to the next question and then the next question, but sometimes you stop because it turns into a discussion and you can talk for 20 minutes, which is another good part of the thing, because then you got some speaking going on. So I asked this guy, what's your favorite baseball movie? And right away he answers, without missing a beat, Major League. And somebody answered the question. This is great. And it was then that it clicked in my head, this guy's Japanese, which not that I didn't know that, but that's like, oh yeah, the Japs like baseball, and they play it a lot, and they play it well. And so they've kind of adopted it as their sport ever since, I suppose, World War II, or the end of the war, and with the Americans being there, and they've really taken to it. So good for him, and it was a great discussion after that, and that is a great movie, Major League. Yeah, there are lots of them though. But I don't want to talk too much about movies right now. I want to say this, that I was walking through Kielce, which is a city here. I was there on a field trip for one weekend with three of my students from Dobiegniew years and years and years ago, like 3 decades ago. And we're there for the Model UN, and which was a great thing, a great activity for the kids for a weekend, and a great chance to speak English and get a little familiarity with politics and the way the UN works. And so we're there, and I'm walking back to the hotel on a break when it was maybe late morning or early afternoon, I don't remember. And I see these kids playing baseball. And I stop to look. I'm like, are they doing what I think they're doing? And sure enough, they're not just throwing the ball or even batting it. They're playing the game with bases, and they're running and they're pitching the ball. I'm like, wow, those kids are really playing baseball. And I hadn't been in Poland very long. I mean, at least a year, maybe 2 years. So, I didn't know I would be here this long. And so I might have even taken a photo or two. I don't remember. But I kept going, went back to the hotel, and you never know if you're ever going to see that again. Like maybe this is like a something that they do in Poland sometimes. But no, I've never seen it since, and I've never seen kids playing baseball just out on the in the backyard of the building, um, without any kind of organization or league or coach or anything. Just kids playing baseball. That was funny or strange, like a phenomenon, like a one-off weird thing. Okay, so that was Kielce. And then there is a kind of sport in Poland or game that kids play, I guess, and it's called palant. And I think sometimes they play this in their school PE classes, maybe. I've seen it once. And they say it's similar to baseball, and it's similar in that way that soccer is similar to football, or maybe rugby is similar to football, where yeah, kinda but not, kinda but not. They use a bat, and I think they just throw up the ball and hit it the way we would if we were playing 500 or something. Um, and then they run a little bit or something to catch the ball. I don't know. But it's not. It's beyond hitting the ball with a bat and some running and maybe trying to catch the ball. There's not a lot of similarity beyond that to real baseball. But there is that palant. And every time I mention baseball, they tell me that. We have this game called, I know, palant. When I was in the Peace Corps, there was some chatter about starting Little League in Poland and trying to promote that and get it going. And then some years later, when I was already in Legnica, I took a special trip up to Polkowice to meet a guy, an American guy, and his friends. So these two guys who had a T-ball team, and they were coaching T-ball, and they were part of a league, I think, and they wanted to encourage me to start a T-ball team here in Legnica, and they were very enthusiastic. And I saw a match actually. I don't know if it was a game actually. It was indoors or if it was just a practice. But these kids were hitting the T-ball and running around the bases, and the young kids. That's why it was T-ball. So, and that was great for them. But I'm thinking between the Peace Corps Little League and the T-ball in Polkowice, I'm not going to do it because I've seen guys who do it, and I know I would end up the coach and the umpire and the equipment manager and the groundskeeper and the treasurer and the PR guy, and it would be all on me to do everything. And I've seen guys do that, and it makes me tired to look at them. I'm too lazy. I'm not doing that all. No. If I had a team of 3 or 4 or 5 guys or something, maybe I could be a part of it. But I'm not that enthusiastic. And it's the other thing. I don't want to be the only guy who's enthusiastic, where I'm trying to motivate the kids. Come on, kids, you're going to love this, If they come to me, okay, but I'm not going to be the guy. Sorry. Yeah. So, and the next thing I want to talk about is softball, which is similar to baseball. It's like a dumbed down version of the real game, but it's just as much fun, and it's more accessible to people to play. Because you need more space to play baseball because you can hit the ball farther. You need the real equipment because you get hurt because it's a harder ball or just a faster one, and you can hurt yourself. So, and here I have it. Let me just show you this. If I can just reach it here. I used to have a baseball here. I don't know where it is. I don't have a baseball. I have a softball. This is a kitten ball. It's called a kitten ball or a 12-inch softball. So it's a little bit bigger than a real baseball. A baseball would be, about fit in my hand like that. In fact, this is a wiffle ball. This is a wiffle ball, and that's about the size of a baseball. So there's the kitten ball, a little bit bigger. There's the wiffle ball, which is almost the size of a baseball. I have a baseball, but it must be downstairs. In any case, so softball. And then besides the kitten ball, this is 12 inches around. You can also get the 16-inch, which is bigger. And with the 16-inch, you play with your hands. There's no glove involved. You just catch it. It's also usually a little bit softer. This is actually hard. I mean, it's like you could do some damage with that. I think it's about as hard as a real baseball. I mean, that's a kitten ball, we call it, or 12-inch. And so most of the time I've played softball, it was that, where you play with a baseball glove or mitt. And yeah, and I played a lot of softball when I was at UNO in college at the University of New Orleans. And I remember one time we had a team, and there were two kinds of teams. There was the co-ed, where you had boys mixed with the girls, and then there were just the boys. So one time I was just with the boys, and with this particular team, I think we played at UNO, in the UNO league, but we also played in a money league where you pay money to play, and then I think if you win the championship, you get money back or something, but we didn't win the championship. But with the same guys, good group of guys, and I remember we had this thing where you got the batting order, and you gotta keep the order. So who bats first, who bats second, who bats third, etc. And on this team for a while, I was batting second, and the guy batting first was Jamie. His name was Jamie, and he would get on base. So he'd be on first base, let's say, at the start of the game, and I'm up second. And inevitably, it would happen that I would hit a ground ball, and I was fast enough to get to first base. If I hit the ground ball to the left, I could really get down the line fast. But Jamie wasn't quite as fast, I think, because he would always get out at second base. I'd hit the ground ball, the third baseman or shortstop, whoever got it, would throw it to second for the out, and I would be safe at first. So now we're always starting every game with one out and one runner on first base, usually me. And that happened a lot. And so I said to the coach, I think his name was Blake, I said to Blake, why don't we do this? Let me bat first and Jamie second. Because then I can get on first, and then when he hits a grounder, I can make it to second before they get me out. And that actually worked. So now instead of starting the game with one out and one runner on first, we starting the games with no outs, or maybe one out, but a runner on second, or usually a runner on first and second. And that was a much better way to start, and that worked. And so we implemented that. I think Jamie was a little bit unhappy because he liked being the first guy, but it worked strategically. It was a much better decision, and strategically, it was a much better strategy. Okay, so. Yeah, and I remember also during that time, I was, I loved playing. I was pretty good, I think, just to, pat myself on the back a little. But I got into a slump one time where I would hit the ball in the air to the left fielder every time at bat. I mean, I'd hit it hard, straight up in the air, right to the left fielder, and it would land right in his glove. And this went on for weeks, and I don't know what I did to get out of it. I guess what I should have done is just stop hitting the ball, or try to hit it to the right side, or hit it down so I'm hitting grounders. But those fly balls were just killing me. One thing I learned playing with another guy, this was a different group of guys. This was in the UNO league, and I don't remember this guy's name, but he was the pitcher, and I was the shortstop. And what I realized after some games is that he was making all of my plays. And that's when I realized that this is always slow pitch softball. You never played any kind of fast pitch like you see these girls playing, where they whip it, This was just you lob the ball. Just lob the ball over the plate and then let them hit it. So what this pitcher would do, not only was he a good pitcher at getting it over the plate in the strike zone, but he would immediately take 2 steps back and get in position. He wasn't just pitching it and then watching it. He was pitching it and then 2 steps back, ready to field. So he was actually the main fielder, and he was collecting all the ground balls that would come up the middle or and a lot of my balls that would have been mine if I, and that was fine with me because we were making outs. It's a lot easier throw for him, and then he's got a lot more time to make the throw than if it comes all the way to me at shortstop, and then I got to make that long throw. So he was making all the plays, and then that's when I learned the value of the pitcher in slow pitch softball. And it's key for him to take those 2 steps back after the pitch. First, you got to make the pitch, of course, but then you make yourself a fielder, and you can make a lot of plays, and it takes a lot of pressure off the other fielders. And he was making like 50% of our plays, I think. So I learned that playing at UNO. And then also there, like I said, we had the co-ed where the boys play with the girls. And when we did that, the boys would have to bat opposite hand. It means I'm a right-hander, so like most people are. So I bat right-handed naturally. But in the co-ed, I would have to bat left-handed, which for most people is more difficult. I've actually done it a lot, so I'm familiar with it, and I'm quite comfortable batting left-handed. I can do it quite well, but I remember some guys were like, what? They had never done it before, and it was new to them, and they could not bat nearly as well. But that was the whole point, is to kind of dumb it down so the guys aren't just taking off the heads of people, and kind of even it up, balance it with the girls. There were other rules too, like I think you had to position people where, around the bases where the first baseman was a girl, second baseman was a boy, shortstop was a girl, etc. Or in the outfield the same way. You couldn't have all the boys bunched up together in the more likely positions where the ball would go, more likely. And then there was an overplay rule where the boy could not run. If the boy is a center fielder, let's say, and the ball is hit to the right fielder, he could not run over and make the catch for her. She would have to catch it, let's say, or make the attempt. So that was an overplay rule. I remember one time we were playing in a championship tournament. I think we were in Baton Rouge, or it might have been up in Lafayette, which is way up there. But I think it was probably Baton Rouge. In any case, so, I'm playing shortstop, and there's a girl playing catcher. Well, in the action of the game, the ball gets hit, people are running around the bases, the ball's out in the outfield, it comes into me, like just beyond the infield, and there's somebody running home from third base, had come around probably from first base or maybe second, and was going to score. So I throw it to the catcher, and I really threw it hard, and it was too hard for her to catch. And I remember feeling like my team is kind of mad at me for throwing it so hard, and I'm like, there was no discussion about it. It was just kind of a feeling, because that girl was not going to catch that ball. And I felt like I was the bad guy for throwing it so hard, but on the other hand, that's how hard you have to throw it. I mean, that's how hard you throw it. What do you want me to do? Throw it softer? I mean, so I that was always a funny feeling, like I wasn't playing right. I don't know, something unfair about that. Let's go. Yeah, my favorite play in softball is this, and this has happened a lot, and I remember even being in my first year of college up in Lakeland, where I played just one game, I think. I got involved in a softball game up there in Wisconsin. Anyway, but this happens a lot. I'll be at shortstop, and there'll be a guy on first base, or not even, maybe just nobody on base. But the batter will hit a home run, and there's no fence or anything to hit it over. It's just a field, and the ball just keeps rolling, and it just goes forever. So this guy whacks it way over the center fielder, or maybe the left fielder. And I know what he's going to do. He's going to run around the bases and score a home run, and good for him. But he doesn't know what I'm going to do. And I love this. So I run out to where the left fielder, or maybe the center fielder, is picking up the ball finally, and he throws it to me, and then I just throw it as hard as I can all the way home. And I've never actually gotten anybody out doing that, but I have made it close. Where the guy running around the bases who thought he had a home run, and he does get a home run, he scores, but it's close. And I at least make it close. And then he's like, oops, next time I'll run faster. So I love that play. And one of these days I'm going to get him out. Okay. Let's keep going here. So, yeah, one more thing. One more thing about playing at UNO is I was in the PE department, and so I also took a softball class. Like I had this class, I think half the semester was softball and the other half was basketball. And in this class, we had a basketball player from the real team, the UNO team, and his name was Sam Jones. Great guy, tall as a tree, this tall basketball player. And one day we're out playing softball, and I'm the shortstop. And somehow, without thinking, I don't know what I was thinking, I wiped my forehead. It's sweaty, it's hot out, I'm sweating. And I just do this, and I got the sweat on my hand. I'm not thinking about it somehow. And the ball's hit to me. I pick it up. Sam Jones is playing first base. He's as tall. He's like the Empire State Building. He's so tall. And I throw that ball hard and way the heck over his head. And this tall guy with his long arms can't jump and reach it, it was so high. The worst throw I've ever made. It goes into the parking lot, and poor Sam. I felt like an idiot. Anyway, that was funny in that not funny kind of way. Okay, let's go back to my earliest memories of baseball. So when I was a little boy, we had these chairs in the kitchen that were like wood, these wooden chairs, and the back part of the chair, well, you can't see this with the camera, and I'm not going to move it, but you know how a chair is. And the back of the chair had these two things going up, and then the boards across it. And these two things were kind of in the shape of a bat. So a little bit like stone camera, about this, this wide at the top, and then it tapers down as you come to the end, to the bottom part of it. And my dad took a chair apart because it was an old chair, and he gave me that thing as a bat, and I was a little boy. And so that was my first baseball bat, was a part of a chair. And one time we went up to Claremont School where there was a softball diamond, and we were just hitting the softball. And I don't know, there were probably me and my brothers and sisters and my dad. And so I got to bat. The point was, you bat a little bit and then you go catch the ball, let somebody else bat. And I wanted to bat only. I didn't want to stand out there. And I'm sure I ruined it for everybody else by crying or complaining that I wanted to bat. So, but I was basically a baby. So that was one of my earliest memories. And then there was another one where we were in the front yard of the house playing catch or something, some kind of baseball game, and having a lot of fun. It's Saturday afternoon, we're playing baseball, and then somebody decided to go inside the house to watch baseball on TV, and I could not figure that out. I'm like, well, we're going to stop playing baseball in order to go inside the house to watch baseball on this beautiful sunny day. It didn't make any sense to me. Probably later it would have, but at that point it just seemed silly. Then there's another time where also a little bit older kid maybe, but still a little kid, and my big brother Peter asked me to go, if I wanted to go with him and his friends to play baseball. And I'm like, yeah, wow, my big brother asked me, and how could that not be fun, So we went on our bikes and we rode out to beyond Lions Park Pool, like somewhere between the pool and the high school. And I don't know even which side of the creek it would have been on, because there's the creek there. It's hard for me to imagine exactly where it was, and I'm sure it doesn't exist anymore. There's probably a building there, like some office building. I don't remember, but I remember being there, and there were some diamonds, or a baseball diamond. And we started playing, and it's like, we didn't have enough guys. You never have enough guys. but we were playing like 2 against 2, or maybe 3 against 3 if we had 6 guys. And so they let me hit, and maybe I hit the ball. You know, one guy would just pitch it easily, and then you hit it, and then run around the bases. And so I'm running around the bases, and I'm running to second base, I think, and they tell me to touch the base. I'm like, okay, and I reached down with my hand, and I touched the base. Because I didn't understand what they meant. It was like a step on the base. You touch the base with your foot, obviously. Now I know that. Everybody knows that. And they knew that. But they didn't know that I didn't know that. And it was the first time in my life I ever had to, like, touch the base. And I remember that. So, and then just playing catch. We played just a lot of catch. Just, 2 guys throwing the ball back and forth, back and forth. Sometimes you throw a grounder. Sometimes you throw a pop-up. You throw the ball, you catch the ball, you throw it again, you catch it. And that's playing catch, and it's a lot of fun, and I love it. And I remember, playing with my big brother, Peter especially, and he would get pretty bored with me, and all I ever wanted to do was play catch. So sometimes I would say, "Hey, Pete," and no. He knew what I was going to ask before I even asked it. And no, he did not want to play. That's okay. And then when I played with my brother Scott, he would throw like these burning hot bullets that would just break my hand. I mean, and every time. I don't think he's ever thrown it lightly. I don't know if he knows how to. Just breaking my hand off every time. Okay, and then we would play running bases, which is a simple game where you got 2 bases and 2 guys playing catch, and then however anybody else, at least one other person, could be up to 3 or 4, depending on how many people there are, running the bases back and forth, trying not to get out. And it's very simple. It's like tag, where, in tag, you tag the guy and he's it, and then he tags you, and then you're it, and then you run around, tag somebody else. And it can go on for hours, and there's no points or scoring, or it's just endless, mindless fun. But it is fun, and that's kind of the way running bases is, where you just throw it back. Then if you get 3 outs, I think you have to be the guy who catches and then try to throw the ball. And running bases, a lot of fun. Another one was bounce or fly. Bounce or fly is one we used to play in school during recess, and there's no bat involved. You just throw a rubber ball, usually maybe a tennis ball. You throw it to the group. The group's down at the other end of the playground, and then if one of the other guys at that group catches it on a fly or a bounce, that's why it's called bounce or fly, then he gets to be the guy throwing it. So you change, you become part of the group, and then you try to catch it. Bounce or fly, very simple. Then there was 500, where one guy hits the ball, just throws it up and hits it himself to the group, and anybody in the group can catch it. If you catch it on a fly, you get 100 points. I think one bounce is 75 points, or maybe 50. Let's say 50 points. I don't remember the scoring. And then if it's 2 bounces or any grounder or rolling, then it's 25 points. And if it's dead, if it stops rolling, then it's no points. You got to get it while it's moving. And then you add up your points until you get 500, and then you get to be the guy batting. So again, it's one of these games that can go on forever till the cows come home. I remember playing running bases with my friend Ray Santowski and his younger brother, Steven, and Steven's friend and their backyard neighbor, Tim Latnan. I think that's what his name was, Tim, I think. Yeah, the Latnans. His name was Tim. Anyway, so the 4 of us would play after school, and I remember it was a lot of fun, except that Steven always insisted on using a tennis ball. And when you're throwing a ball, you don't want to throw a tennis ball. It's just too light and too bouncy, and it's just not the game. I wanted to play with a baseball. But Steven didn't want to get hurt, so okay, we'll play with the tennis ball. Anyway, I prefer the real thing. There was one thing I missed here, and I don't want to miss it. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. At some point, I became a Cub fan, a fan of the Chicago Cubs, and I would watch them on TV all the time. I was obsessed with them. And what's funny, I'll go ahead and say this now. I was going to say it later, but I'll say it now. So I would watch the Cubs, and my legs would cramp. I would get so excited about some of the pitches or some of the situations where I wanted them to get a hit or score the guy from third. They finally got a guy on third base. This was something to celebrate. Now, if we could just get him to score. And one of my favorite players from those days was Jose Cardenal, probably the first guy that I remember being kind of a hero to me when it comes to baseball. Later, it would become Don Kessinger because I wanted to play shortstop, but Jose Cardenal was the right fielder. And here's one of those small world or synchronicity stories. Last night, I was looking through things on the internet to send to my friend Carl so that he could get a little bit familiar with baseball. And one of the things I found was the 1980 World Series last game of the World Series 1980, and I remember watching that. I remember seeing it on TV, and this was a great version of it because it was a Reader's Digest version of the game. So the whole last game, they show every pitch that mattered, whether it was scoring a run or getting an out. All the outs. They showed all the outs. So it's fast. It's only a few minutes, but you get the kind of the feel for the whole game. So I sent that to Carol, and but one of the things I noticed was that there's Jose Cardenal playing on the Kansas City Royals. He's playing right field. He got 2 hits. I didn't remember that. But this is the famous game where Bob Boone dropped the pop-up and Pete Rose was right there to catch it. And the Phillies ended up winning that game and winning the series against the Kansas City Royals. But Jose Cardenal was playing right field, and he got 2 hits. Good for him. So that's a fun thing. Okay. This has been going here over 30 minutes, and I still have a lot to talk about baseball, so I'll do another one of these maybe soon. Okay, I'm going to cut it off here, though, now, and we will continue later, because I don't want this to go on too long, and I actually have a lot more to say. Okay, so that's it for baseball for now. Thanks for watching. Any comments or anything you can put in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. I haven't checked those in a while, but I will, and I'll try to respond to them. Have a good day.